Welcome, everybody, to Nothing Less Than Extraordinary. I have a fabulous guest with me. We had to manage responsibilities and children's and chores and business to make it happen today. So I am so excited she's made the time to be here and that we can finally connect. Please welcome today Keosha Lafleur Anders. So
Yes,
actually,
thank you.
thank you so much for being here. I kind of cut you off a little bit, but she is a creative wellness coach. Did I get that right, Keosha?
You did.
Good. Awesome. I am so happy to have you here because we were actually on your podcast with your friend as well. We did a show on parenting, which is super, super exciting. You can have to talk about that a little bit more to promote that too. But today's topic is, and it links well to Keosha's book as well. She's going to talk all about that. But we want to be able to give you something punchy, real. We're going to really dive in. Is Be Well to Do Well. I love that title. So, Keosha, before we start, I want to be able to really highlight your life story, how you grew up, what that was like for you, and why that led you into doing the coaching that you are doing now, and the book that you're launching that's coming up as well, and any other program. So let's start with Keosha as a young girl. What was that like for you?
Oh, I love that. I love that start. Keosha, as a young girl, grew up in a rural town in Louisiana. So I'm originally from Louisiana. I live in the Austin, Texas area, but I'm a Louisiana country girl through and through. I'm talking barefoot, climb trees,
Love
plant
it.
plant gardens with my grandparents, stand outside, wait till the fish man drives by, we get fresh fish. I am country.
Mhm.
I had a pretty good childhood. I grew up with a single mom. My
Yes.
dad lived in the area too, but I didn't grow up with my dad. It was mainly my mom, her family, and my grandparents.
Mhm.
And my grandparents were like parents to me because my mom had me really young.
Yeah.
And so at the very beginning, my great aunts and my mom's cousins really took a lot of time with me. I think as a family, they really like hovered over me and was very close to me because I didn't have the other side of my family for a long time. So a lot of them were teachers and they taught me to read and they helped me really fall in love with words. That's really how I got started as a writer
Mhm.
because I was reading super early, according to my grandfather. He was so proud about that because right when I was born, he actually retired from his job. He used to work at a chemical plant. And so he stayed home and I was there with him. And we fell in love with words together. And that's how I became a writer. I fell in love with words super early on. I mean, in the country, you didn't have much to do, right? And this is like pre-internet. So what did you do? You would read, you would write, you would do crossword puzzles. So that's exactly how I got started. My family got me started with loving words.
It's funny how we look back and we realize, I remember as a kid, we didn't want to be, I remember for me anyway, that I didn't want to be like my dad nor like my mom. I wanted to be my own person. If anybody said anything that I resemble mom, and I'm like, no. But it's funny, once you have your own kid, you realize, oh, I'm a lot more like mom and dad. Some of those values that they passed on to me, it's like I can't deny I come from them.
Exactly. And then, oh my gosh, the craziest part is when people see you that have known you all your life and they go, "Oh my God, you look just like your mom." Oh my God. And I go, "You have gray hair. Oh my God, you look just like your dad." I'm like, I'm turning into them.
To our parents. Oh no.
It's like the Progressive commercial. I think that's Progressive. This the car insurance commercial where like everywhere they go, they're like turning into their parents, and this coach is trying to get them to not be their parents, but it just happens, right?
Unexplainable. But
Exactly.
our upbringing does really does get passed on. Sometimes even they're unconscious and things we picked up with. Before I hop on this podcast, I'm talking to my beautiful friend Erica from Florida, and I was talking about, her being on my podcast, having her on my podcast as well. And I only pick and choose people that I really like. I love your energy. I love your rawness, your realness. When we were on the other podcast, I'm like, I'm gonna have her here and we're gonna make it happen. So I'm super excited that this
Thank
is finally
you.
taking place. And one of the things she said was, because when we talked about legacy, and she said the biggest legacy that you can actually give is passing on those beautiful values on to your children, because that will continue living on and getting passed on from generation into generation. And it's so true. So you got that
Mhm.
from your grandparent, the love of reading, to now passing that on as well to your children, I'm sure.
Yeah, and that's so true about legacy. When I think about my grandparents, my grandfather was born in 1920.
Hmm.
So my grandmother was born in 1930, was exactly 10 years older than her.
Hmm.
And so those things that they valued then that we would call old fashioned are things that I actually value now. And from spending time sitting around the table, and even if you don't have a table, just being able to, like, when you're eating together, because food is love,
Yeah.
especially like in
Yes.
Louisiana, food is love. Like,
I
I mean,
love
in
it.
most cultures, yeah, it's so when you are eating together, actually taking time to have conversations, whether it's around a table or not, taking time to have conversations and those types of things that people really don't value anymore. I value like really old school things because that's how I grew up and that's what my grandparents passed on. It was just really taking the time to talk and to listen. And that's part of the legacy that I'm passing on to my children.
I love those old traditional value. I think that's what saved me in many things in life. And that's
Mhm.
what keeps me humble. That's what keeps me resilient. So kudos to traditional value. I mean, seeing some of that
Yay.
kind of fading away, it's sad, but I mean, there are different reasons. So I mean, there's other ways to cope around it as well. But one of the things that I love is that when we hold on to those value that's been passed on from generation to generation, and try to pass that on to our children, there's nothing like the core fundamental thing that holds us together. It doesn't take much, right? Like with my children, I tell them there's only 3 things that mom asks. I couldn't do my finger thing of pointing my fingers. 3 things that I want from them is, 1, to be a kind human being to other, always lift
Mm.
other people up. And I love being happy for other people's success. Like, some people, I don't get why they can't be happy, but
I
me, I love
know.
cheering on other people's success. There's so much in this earth. There's enough to go around for
Yes.
everybody.
Mhm.
And the second thing I tell my children is that do your very best. Show up to be the best version of you. Like, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be the number
Mhm.
one. You just have to be the best that you can possibly be every single day. And the third one, I'm starting to forget because there's so many. Oh, I told my kids mistakes are good because my daughter has performance anxiety. I think it's
Mm.
probably passed on from generation to generation, being Asian, so she has, and there's part of that female too. Like, my son doesn't seem to
Mhm.
have performance anxiety as much as she does.
Right?
Mhm. So she's getting that. And what I repeat to my children is that mistakes are beautiful. Make more of them
Mhm.
so that you can grow and then you can learn from them, because the more you become friends with, the things that scares you, that's when you're able to really go over it. It no longer is terrified you anymore. If you're no longer afraid of doing the things that really scare you, it really push you forward to be able to do bigger and greater things. So curious,
Mm.
what's yours traditional value that I keep it simple with the kids, like that you would love or been passing on to your children?
One of the things is don't be afraid to start over.
Mm,
And that was actually a big one for me and my husband because you kind of grow up with this um idea that everything has to be perfect. It kind of goes along with the mistakes, right?
yeah.
It's like if you make a mistake, oh my God, it's the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell my sons and my daughter, she's 6, but I have a 17-year-old and an 11-year-old son, both sons
Mm-hmm.
here. And my thing to my 17-year-old, especially because he deals with anxiety, that's a challenge for him, is don't be afraid to start over. Okay. Like if this is not going right, or you're feeling like, okay, I need to stop,
Mm-hmm.
take a deep breath, really sit with it for a little while. It's another lesson that we teach. And I talk about this a lot because I did this a lot, was I would just say yes to everything without thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And making a decision, sometimes you need to just stop, but that's in the same thing, right? So that I teach my kids a lot about taking a breath, a lot about pausing, a lot about slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
So if you, because sometimes our minds can race and we're trying to be so good at everything. Okay, so if it's not going in a direction that feels right to you, stop. Don't be afraid to start over.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid for things to shift. It's okay. And the other thing is to sometimes slow down.
Yeah.
It doesn't, so you can stop and start over. Sometimes you just need to slow down, go at a slower pace. Don't answer questions so quickly. Don't say yes so quickly. Don't be so impulsive. Because sometimes when we're impulsive, we say yes to things and then we get in and we go, oh my God, why did I say yes to that? Oh my God, that was the story of my life. I'm a recovering people pleaser.
Me too.
So oh my gosh. I would be like, okay. And then I get home and go, why did I say okay? Like, why did I say yes to this? Well, now I have to do it because I said yes. Right. And another thing that I talk to them about a lot is because both my husband and I come from families where siblings grow up and then at some point, because things weren't really dealt with when they were younger, they separate. We've
Mm-hmm.
both had experience with that with our like parents and their siblings and stuff. I preach a lot to them about how to treat each other as siblings, how
Mm-hmm.
to talk to your brother, how to recognize that your sister has a different level of understanding that you do. Don't try not to get too anxious and aggravated with her. Be patient with her,
Yeah.
because I always tell them, mama and daddy, if it goes to the natural order of things, right, we will be out of here first. That's naturally how it's supposed to happen, right? When we leave, you have each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's the so if you plant the seeds now where you're talking to each other any kind of way, you're being dismissive of each other's feelings,
Mm-hmm.
then what is that going to do? You're going to continue what your grandparents have experienced in their lives with their siblings, and then everybody's going to be separated. Do you want that? No, ma'am. Okay, take your time with your brother, take your time with your sister, speak to them in a way that they can hear. But in
Yeah.
order for you to do that, you need to be able to be in tune with them. That's the beauty of a relationship. And normally when people say relationships, what do we think of? Romantic relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the first thing you think of. But siblings, that's a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Parents and child, that's a relationship. So we have to nurture those relationships too. So that I talk about them slowing down. Don't be afraid to start over, but also to make sure that they're treating their siblings with respect and speaking to them in a way that they can hear.
It's beautiful. It melted my heart. I was like sitting here, I'm like, okay, I gotta have this conversation with my son and my daughter about how they should talk to each other and that, because I do tell them sometimes, like, I don't know, mommy's here, still here. And because we watch movies that um the kids lose their parents and
Mm.
how like they're like, I wish I have a mom and a dad. And then we talk about it. How would you feel like if you were in that shoe? And so I don't want to scare them too much because that's can be terrifying for a child.
Yeah.
To lose.
It can. I think for my kids, I recently lost a friend last August, and she had 4 children. She was divorced. She had 4 kids, and they did everything together. So when she passed, they were 19, 17, 14, and 12. And immediately they like, okay, family came down from Illinois, and then they were like, okay, y'all come up here. Some of y'all can stay down here. What do y'all want to do? And the older sister said, I want us to stay together.
Hmm.
And it's because their mom was very, she would always say that, don't talk to your brother that way.
Yeah.
Like the fights are normal, right? The no, put that down, don't touch my stuff. and that sort of thing. But words have so much power. And sometimes I think I look too much into it because I am a writer, but I understand things like could and should, and like the different, like one word can change the context of a sentence or what you're saying. So I try to help my children without hovering over them about it. Like I'm not watching every word that they say, but
Mhm,
at the same time, I'll go, okay, well, you probably shouldn't say he always does this because that's not true. He's not always doing this.
mhm,
And it plants seeds in it. So just things like that. I always try to remind them of the words that they use and how they use it with each other, you
mhm.
know?
Words are very powerful. I mean,
Yes.
mhm, and I never thought that I'm not a girl of literatures and words. When I was a kid, I was like, you know what? I love people. When I was a kid, I love people. I just want to help people. I could just speak to people and then I'll heal them and then that's it. Forget about writing. Like me is more like the writing part. Like I struggle with writing and stuff.
Mm.
And I'm like in the process of finishing my book and the editing of my book. Oh my God, it's taking so long.
Yay!
Thank you. Thank you
Congratulations.
so much. I mean,
You're
there's so
welcome.
much love there. I want to give so much into it, but I have to be reasonable at some point because
Mhm.
there'll be like the book, there'll be a second version. Like the title has there'll be a second book and a third book. But right now, let's start with one, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to say, I now have the love for words. It didn't come out that way. I was like, as long as I can talk, I'll be fine. I just want to work with people. Who cares about writing? But writing is so powerful. And these past couple of days,
Mhm.
it really bring that to the forefront. I've been attending various training and the words that you put out there in the universe has a form of energy. And then, I think I listened to Jay Shetty, and Jay Shetty was actually
Mm.
interviewing Jennifer Lopez about what is the coaches of purpose. And one of the things she says that tells her kid is that be careful the word that you put out there. If you think you're dumb, then that's the energy you put out, and that's what you're going to believe in yourself. And at first I was like, really? Does word really have that strong of a power on you? Does it really? And then I thought about it. I said, okay, you know what? As a kid, I've always told myself unconsciously these things without even knowing. Like when I think about what do I see myself? And those words
Mm.
comes to me without even realizing. It's become so often that I repeat it to myself. The reason why I can overcome so many obstacles is because I define re as somebody who's extremely resilient. Like
Mm.
no matter how bad the situations are, no matter how much in deep trouble I am, I'm always gifted with amazing stranger, random people who are coming to my aid. I never have to worry. But that's the story I tell myself over and over again that it's become so ingrained in me that I don't even have to repeat it. It's like it just talks on its own. It's like a
Mhm.
pre-recording. So and then I thought, you know what? I never thought that I say those things to myself because it's so unconscious now, but I do. And because I say these positive things about me, because I say Ree is a positive person, because Ree is a loving person and Ree can overcome just anything, she's a badass.
Yeah. Free is a badass. I second that.
Thank you. You're so sweet. So are you, girl. So are
Oh,
you. If
thank
I heard you on that podcast, like need to connect with that badass.
you. Oh, two
But it's
badasses.
so
I love
but
it.
yeah, but it's so true. The
Mhm.
story that we tell ourselves, the qualities that we give ourselves, and as well as some of the negative things that we tell to ourselves.
Mhm.
So I tell my kids, like when my son says, "Oh, I'm not good with sport," like my son is not a sport dude, and so he when I say, well, would you like to try baseball? He's like, no, I'm not good with sport. Like, well, running, he's like, I'm not good at sport. I said, well, we're going to have to change that wording. Like, maybe you're not good at running right now
Mm-hmm.
yet, but you never know. And then I tell them the story of when I was a kid. Like, I never thought I would love running. I do now today. But when I was actually in high school, every time they make us do these run and lapses, I would have such big cramp and stomach pain. I'd be like, I
Mm.
don't know how these people do it. It's such torture. Why does he makes us run? But today, I love running. I don't run every day because my joint can't take it, but whenever I get the chance to run, I run. And I realize that as we age, our identity or taste changes as well. I never thought
Mm-hmm.
there's one thing, like I've always said, I love dark chocolate. I hate white chocolate. I've always hated white chocolate. It's like, eh. And now one day by accident, I was eating and there was no other dark chocolate. There was only white and I needed sugar. So I ate the white chocolate and something in my taste bud changed. And I'm like, I really like white chocolate. I'm like, oh,
You're
I hate
like,
to
this is
admit it.
good.
Yeah, I hate to admit it. I was like, I was so proud to be the girl that said, I hate white chocolate. And now I'm like, oh my God, I can't leave this out. It's out
And
now.
that's so true. You know what? Our taste buds change when we get older, and so does our taste for just different things in life. Our
Yes.
tolerance becomes like it changes. We used to say in Louisiana all the time with elderly people, we'd be like, oh my gosh, people get old and just say whatever they want to say. Like elderly people just say just anything. And we would laugh about it because they really would just say anything. Like they told you exactly how they felt.
Mhm.
But I understand it now. I now at 45, as I'm getting older, there's a particular type of, I don't even know what to, peace is a part of that.
Mhm.
But I think, I know awareness is overused, but it definitely is awareness. It's maturity, you're growing.
Yeah.
If you're healing in certain areas, it's like your taste in friends change, your
Yes.
taste in environment and activities and different things. And
Mhm.
that's really a part of growth. It happens just like that. Like you used to love something and now you're like, oh my God, I love this now. I never thought I would love this particular thing and not love this anymore. But it's the it's to be embraced. You
Mhm.
know, you used to like dark chocolate, you taste the white chocolate and you love the white chocolate. And you're not, I am dipping everything in white chocolate now. Like this is this is the life. White chocolate is the life for me moving forward. But
Mhm.
that's exactly how life is. It's just like that. I
Yeah,
love it.
true. It's so true. It's learning to go with the flow and not resist it.
Yes.
Something about it brought to mind. I know we went off on a tangent, but I love when we kind of go off on tangent because that's
Me
what it's
too.
all about. Like, I seriously, it's meant to happen. I really believe in the way the universe kind of works out, and I'm having so much fun. I
Hmm.
don't want to change anything
Me
about this
too.
interview.
You're so cool. It's
The
like
same
I
thing with you. It's like hanging out with a girlfriend.
yes. I
I
love
mean, if
it.
I could
Love
have
it,
wine, I'd
Ree.
be having wine right now. Since it's
Same.
almost that hours.
I have water. That'll kind of do.
I got a candle next to it. Candle, so I can't drink that one. Oh God, I would love to hang out with you.
Same.
It's so good. It's so much fun. This is what it's all about. This is what life is all
Mm.
about. It's really that I mean, that's what we were talking about, like my boyfriend and I, and why I'm trying to chase this dream and grow this business. It's good. It's a good reminder. And one of the thing I wanted to celebrate about you, which linked to what I'm doing with my boyfriend, is the fact that you said to me, I was so proud of you when you said, I am disconnecting. I am taking a break for myself because
Mm.
I need to be able to reboot and recharge. I was like, you go, girl, because most of us be like, no, I can't. I can't take a break. I got to produce. I got to keep going because my business is relying on it. And then we crash and we pay with our life and we pay with our health.
Mm.
That brings us back to the topic of what we're doing. Like, that what you mentioned is to be well in order to do well. So talk to me about that. Like, what do you mean by that? I have an idea, but I love that.
Sure. So this is what, so 2019, I started experiencing a ton of different shifts in my life. I mean, seriously, because I was working at Dell up until 2 months ago, but um my position at Dell was changing. I was now moving into a data analyst role. I'm like, I don't even like spreadsheets and numbers. What is happening? Like, it was so stressful. It had me completely out of my frame and my comfort zone because that's not my thing, but I had to do it. There were
Mhm,
layoffs, and I was, and
mhm,
so there was that. There were shifts in my friendships that I had had for years, like women that I grew up with. Our whole group was like, it was just so chaotic and shifting around. It was so many things happening at the same time.
mhm.
Then, of course, what everybody says, then came COVID,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So there's the stress of that, not knowing what that's all about. And then, like, when people talk about quarantine, a lot of times it's negative. And I got the isolation was a lot for some people, you know. For me, it's something that I needed. It
Mhm,
actually, when I say slowed me down,
mhm.
I felt like um it wasn't just that we weren't going outside. Internally, I was like, okay, instead of taking a look at all these different things that's happening around me, because it was a lot. And
Yeah,
I felt like I really couldn't get a grasp on the changes at work, the friendships, the
yeah.
at the time my stepdad had pancreatic cancer, so he was dying of cancer. It was like all these different things. We couldn't go see him. It was a lot of things going on.
Mhm,
So, but instead of taking a look at everything outside of me, I started working internally.
mhm,
I started looking at, okay, so let's tell the biggest thing when you start doing internal work is to tell yourself the truth.
mhm.
And I realized that I had been lying to myself about a lot of things. I had been lying to myself about certain friendships. I like whether or not they were real friendships. I had been lying to myself about me being at the company, which I loved my team, but I'm like, what am I doing here? I don't feel like I'm in the right place. I'm making money, but is that everything? No, I'm unhappy. I'm stressed. Just started really telling a lot of truths to myself.
Yeah.
So the internal work that I started doing and focusing on being well, the studying that I was doing to become a wellness coach at that time, right before COVID, but really ramped it up then. I became a bar instructor. So I started like taking deep breaths and really working on my body. Just those things, those intentional moments of slowing down and really thinking about me being and not always about what I do,
Yeah.
because I defined myself on all the doing stuff, like my position at work,
Mhm,
the like all the stuff that you do. But I really took a look at my being. And once I did that,
mhm.
the more I worked on myself, my mental, my physical, emotional, um, all the things, right? Once I started really working on that, then started to see how that was translating into what I do, what I did,
Yeah.
everything that I touched. Now I'm coming from a different place
Mhm.
because now I'm getting to know me. I'm
Yes.
acknowledging who I actually am. I'm actually letting go of friendships that aren't real, that maybe we have a trauma bond, or maybe it's like, it's just we can, okay, maybe she can't be like this close. I still love her, so I can keep her kind of at a distance, but I need to because I'm growing in this direction. And that's a real thing too. People, even when you say people are growing apart, you think romantic relationships, but it can really happen in friendships too.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
it's sad and it hurts, and there's a grieving process that comes with that because I went through that. But it doesn't change how much you love the person and would be there for them. It's just that the season is changing. So I started really embracing learning how
Mhm.
to be Keosha, how to get back in touch with the dreams that I had prior to becoming a wife and a mom, even back then. Like, who am I being? And then letting that show up in what I do. That's where the authenticity comes from. When you get to know yourself a little bit more, you're more aware of where you're not healed. When you're triggered, like people would always say, that triggers me. You know what? That's okay. If you're triggered, then that lets you know that that's a place that you're not healed. So
Mhm,
focus on that. What is that? And
mhm.
for me, in my practice, in my personal practice and in my business, I write about it
Mhm.
and I journal about it. We write books about it, but we write because writing is a very sacred, very private, as much as you want it to be, right? You can share it with other people in a book, or you can put it in a journal and nobody sees it but you. That's it. And you don't have to read what you wrote. You can just release it and move on. You get to choose. You have control over that. So that is what I mean. And I speak mostly to women in business. And when they tell me this is not working and I have a creative block, or this is not working in my business, I go, stop. What's happening around you? Just be still and look at everything around you. What's happening? Oh, this in my relationship and this. Okay. So guess what? Maybe I understand that you can't stop business. You may need to shift how you do things for a little bit, but give this some attention.
Mm-hmm.
Look at your relationships. Look at your emotional health. Maybe you need to go to therapy. Maybe like really consider what is adding to you being and how is that going to show up in what you do. So that's what I mean by be well to do well. Prioritizing your well-being in order to do well in your business and in life, not just in your business. Everybody needs it, whether you own a business or not. Your performance at work, your parenting skills, whatever. We have to remember to focus on ourselves, to prioritize that, for that to be first, because we're no good to anything and anybody if we're burnt out and just busted and disgusted. That's not that
Wow.
won't work out.
I love how you came up with that so quickly.
I don't know where that came from. That
You
was so
rhyme
random.
so good. I think I wish I had that talent. For sure, you're very creative.
It was random.
But it's a good one. But
Thank you.
that's a powerful part that you share. It's something that I work constantly on, like my being, who I am, and the greatest. Oh my God, I can't remember the names, but one of they're not gurus, but like one of the great masters that everybody looks to, and I forgot his name. It's quoted in a book. I'm very bad with names. So
Me
he
too.
I was like, how do people like write books and be able to quote people like this person and that person? I remember
I
being in
can't do it.
university. I know, me neither. I remember being in university. I have this woman, she's like, this guy said this and said this and said, I'm like, I can't remember one name. I can remember a quote, and even that is not perfect. So it's not my strength. But I would need some help with regards to that. And so this person, so this master, this great master, is that he said it's all about who is it the I am word, like I am,
Mm,
you got to figure out who you are as a
mm,
person. And so the being, the like who you are as a person, everything really do come from inward. And
mm-hmm,
that really showcase on the outside. And something that I've been attending with all of the different course, it all comes down to when it comes to business, in life, in love, in relationship, with your friendship, your as a parent,
mm,
it your number one asset is you. When the business change, when COVID, when there is a market crash, the one asset that you have is you, your weapon. And then I was on the Susan Evans 3 days event of the Yes event. Great. This lady is, my
mm.
God, she is quite something. She's getting free promo. So I better get something, Susan, from this here. But I love you. I love you. She is really the real deal. Like what I really like about her is that she talks about how you as a person, how you work on yourself, like the best investment of working on yourself, that she always says, no matter if the market crash, whatever happens, she doesn't worry about if her company is either blooming or going to go down the drain, is that she knows all of the investment that she worked on herself and growing her business and getting the coaching to be at that level, that she can always rely on her as a person, because
Mm,
there's nobody like you, because you are so unique. So when you invest into working on yourself, working on your internal and doing all of the healing, you are going to become a much better person to be able to bring that to the forefront, to be your authentic self, to show up in your full power, who you were truly meant to be, and to stand into that power of yours and just shine. And
Mm.
that's what I'm learning more and more, is that people buy, they don't buy your product or your service, they buy you.
Yes.
So if you can hone in on the true you and just stand out, like all of these magnificent coaches that I see, they're not trying to be anybody else than themselves. I mean, they're just, there's something so appealing when people are just being genuinely authentic and unapologetic about who they are. You feel it.
Mm.
You don't have to ask anything. You just know. And when they are fully authentic and unapologetic about their existence and that they got a place on this earth, then that energy just like it is super attractive to everybody. So I feel that energy from you, and I'm trying to work on myself with
Mm.
regards to that. Really, I really do. And that's, your wording really does speak. But when you're able to do that, people, it gives people permission to be themselves. That's what you do.
Oh, that is what I love. I just had, you said, I mean, you said, I said it just that way, permission to be yourself. I had an event that I hosted. I sometimes host events here in Austin. Is just so beautiful. There are so many
Mhm.
like places to go and things to see. And I hosted this event that was in what's called hill country here. Literally the houses sit in the hills. So
Mm,
there's just beautiful views, and had all of these women in there, some of who probably would have never even thought about going somewhere like that.
mhm.
And I told them, I said, it is important to me that whenever you're around me, that I make you feel like you can be your absolute self.
Yeah.
Because, and I made them laugh because I'm so random, but I meant this. I'm
Mm.
going to be myself. You
Yes.
are going to get, you are going to get professional speaking, Keosha.
Mm,
Well, I always call that K. That's the K. Writer, the writer is K, right?
mhm,
K
mhm,
Lafleur Anders. She's the writer. She's the one who will respond, oh, per the last email, thank you very much,
mm.
blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, I'm still Keosha.
Yeah.
And I am going to be Keosha. I am going to be compassionate. I'm going to be straightforward. I'm not going to lie to you because I don't want anybody lying to me. I'm
Yeah.
not going to say it harsh. I'm going to say it in love. But if I love you, and I want you to do the same. Like I always welcome that. I want people to be who they are because that's how you actually build genuine relationships too. You know, if you show up to a place, and I understand some people are intimidated about the doors that they walk into and the tables that they sit at, and that's a whole nother topic, right? You don't feel like you're worthy to sit there, that you
Mhm.
have everything you need. So that can all play into it. But that's why it also makes a difference who you connect with and where you go, and be intentional about it, because walking into places where you are, it's like, hey, come as you are, like truly come as you are. This is you. We love it because there's something in you that's going to add to this. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yep. Yep.
it, I, I try to make sure that whatever space I'm creating or curating as a creative wellness coach for women, that they feel like they can come in. And I always tell them, they laugh at me because I say it all the time, but and feel no pressure,
Mhm.
none.
Yeah.
You don't have a new dress, or you don't have the funds to buy something new to come to the event. Put on what you have. You
Yeah.
don't have to feel any pressure to what, like, you don't want, I hear that a lot. Well, I don't have the money to get my hair done. Girl, get the flat iron. Turn that, nobody's looking at you. We are coming to, it is no pressure.
Mhm.
Because as a creative wellness coach, not only do I believe in the well-being side of it, but I believe that your well-being contributes to how, if you invest in your well-being, that invests in your creativity. So if I add pressure to you, I'm not going to get the creativity that's needed for you to finish this book. You're not going to have the creativity that's needed to learn how um to manage conflict resolution on your team, because that's creative. You won't
Mhm.
be able to parent these two kids who are totally different, different personality. You have enough pressure from things going on in life that's normal. So when you come around me or to my events, you shouldn't feel any pressure
Yeah.
because that's not the atmosphere that I'm setting up. And I'm very clear about that with everybody who comes.
Yeah.
Like, and even I absolutely love introverts
Mhm.
so much because the older I get, the more introverted I am.
Mhm.
So I find myself really this world is made for extroverts. I
Mhm.
mean, it's just made for everybody to be all over the place, whatever. But I'm noticing now with women who are introverts who
Mhm.
are not very comfortable being in social settings, or they don't want to do all the things, right? I'm making sure that I create spaces for them too, because I want them to know, listen, you're not an outcast because you don't want to talk to 1,500 people in this room. Like, it's okay. So in my spaces, you don't even have to, hey, how you doing? Okay. But I have women that go sit in a corner on the patio and look at the view and journal. Like,
Yeah.
they introduce themselves, but then they go off and they get what they need. So you just come and get what you need. But I appreciate that. It's such a compliment. I'm very adamant and intentional about that. I want people to feel comfortable because it's just enough uncomfortable stuff happening in the world. Like, I always say, the negative folks, they don't need my help. So I'm not, it's enough negative people out here. It's enough judgy people out here to where those of us who are not like that, I mean, we are like just shining a light in this world. This world is crazy. So,
I love that you said that because can we just like as a female, like men don't have those kind of pressure on themselves. They have some other kind of pressure, but as
mhm.
female, we put on this pressure to be so perfect in so many ways. We're juggling so many things at once, and our brain, hamster brain, never stops. You know what I love? I want to be able to give this to people. I like my boyfriend and I, we have the best time, like in the most boringest of setting. We make boring stuff turns very fun.
Yeah.
We have way too much fun that just random people are just super attracted to being around us that we have to like tame it down.
Yes.
But I wanted to share a really short story that really exhibit well this idea of like releasing the pressure.
Mm,
I always tell my clients every time they come and we're working on something to give themselves the permission to just be, to fail, like not have the outcome, like holding on the outcome. I'm supposed to just be, just go with the flow. We're working on something. Let's try it out. We'll be in the present moment. We're doing our very best. And when you trust the process and you
mm,
have faith and you trust in your own ability, it always managed to work itself out and solution comes to you. But to reiterate about taking off that pressure, I look at my boyfriend with so much admiration because he's the type of guy, he's like, if he wants to have fun, like I have to tame myself down, like, I can't do that. So we went to this restaurant and they play music and then nobody dances on the dance floor. It was a tune that he enjoyed. So he went soft on the dance floor. I'm like, no, 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 no. And so like, oh God, that mean I would have to go on the dance floor and I would only dance like when there's a crowded of people. But this all eyes are gonna be on us because it's just us. Nobody's dancing. I was like, good. And here he's dancing away. So I stay in my bubble. I don't even look at the crowd because I am so enthralled and in love with my boyfriend. So I'm just having an amazing time connecting, doing silly stuff in our dance. And the crowd see that we're having fun, right? But there's comes this one part that I just look at my boyfriend with so much admiration, in the dirty dancing where they pull out a chair and he just go. So he just does
I
that in
love
front of
that.
the crowd. I say, and he's not apologetic about anything that he does. He's radiating in that moment, and he's not caring about what other people thinks except for
Mm,
having a good time. And that really magnified the thing that I look at him and I think, wow, does he give himself the permission to just have fun and doesn't give a damn about what other people think? And here I am, guys.
right.
do that, babe. I can't do that. This is like, people are gonna think I'm crazy. I think you're being crazy right now, but I'm loving on it because I don't have that same courage as you do. So you rock with things.
You're like, you go for it, go for it.
That's it. Secretly, I'm like envious of him. But all that to say, when you are just being and you're embracing who you are, your identity, and you're not scared about other people's
Mm,
judgment, taking away that pressure, have fun. Life is way too short. I know it's easier said than
mm,
done, but when you've removed the pressure and allow yourself to be silly, to be, whatever you need to be, it feels good. You feel lighter. So you're not carrying on all of that load. I know we're coming
yeah.
close to the hour. I want to be able to promote and highlight you as much as possible. So tell us about your book and any other program that you got going on that people should definitely tune in and get to discover and learn more about Keosha.
Yeah, so the book is called Be Well to Do Well. And all I know is it's going to be out by the end of the year. I'm like, I have been working on this book for so long. I go back to it. I come because I'm a publisher too. So I've been working with everybody else on their books, and I go, okay, that's
Mhm.
one of the reasons why I'm slowing down this summer. Which I have been doing that for the past three years. It's been really good for me to just from like the end of May to the beginning of August. That does not mean that I'm not doing any business. It just means I'm not doing a whole lot of different things.
Mhm.
And spending more time with my family. But I will have it finished this summer. That's number one. Number two, Chestnut Publishing House is my publishing company. And I mean, it's primarily here and we do work here in the Austin area, Austin, Texas area
Mhm.
and promoting children's and adult literacy. That's super important to me. My 6-year-old had reading the speech delays, and that kind of slowed her down with reading. And so, I mean, it's something that's very personal to me. And so we are working on that. But Reset with Kay is the blog that I have that's collaborative. I invite women, whether you own a business or not, if there's something on your heart that you want to write about and really share something with another woman. I don't care if it's, hey, make sure you take intentional breaths, something that it's helpful if you're a productivity coach, you want to give them tips or whatever, and you can submit it to the blog. So it's a collaborative blog. I love it. That's why I call it Reset with Kay, because I'm resetting, so come and reset with me. Like read the blog and do all the things. And then the last thing that I just started doing that someone from anywhere can join me for is once a month I'm having what I call a connection call, and it's a lunch virtually, and we hop on, and most of them are women with businesses, but some of them are not. I've had women who are volunteers and they're leading like a volunteer group, and they're not sure how to manage that, but we get on a call, we eat lunch together, and we talk about how to manage things. That's basically what we do.
Mhm.
And I believe in the power of social wellness. I believe in the power of being connected to the right people. And
Mhm.
I literally don't have to do anything. I mean, I will give, they will ask me a question, but the group, the collective
Mhm.
help. I mean, everybody helps each other. Did you think about this? We'll try this tool, try this resource. And so I love it. I had thought about it. I was like, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this. And then I had a mom on the last one go, please don't stop. Because sometimes I can feel, it feels like I feel alone in this entrepreneurship and running a business, or if you're a solopreneur, it's just you don't have a team, you're doing everything, it
Mhm.
can sometimes get lonely. So we just eat lunch together for an hour and talk about things that would be super helpful with, not just in the business but in life,
Yeah,
because a lot of that stuff is transferable, a lot of that stuff cross lines, and when you learn how to be, you can successfully learn how to do.
I love it. It's really beautiful, which the universe just spoke to me. I just said I have to do a collaborative book with strong woman, like really who embodies like authenticity and really stands in that power. And you're one of those people that I love. I haven't even
Mm.
asked any other people to collaborate on my book. You are my first. You
Oh,
are
thank
my
you,
first.
Ree.
I was like, who do like? I'm gonna be very selective. I don't know how many I want to be part of this book, but you are one of them, and it's really about shining from within the core of working on our being, because that's what it
Mhm.
is. Like for me as a relationship coach, and the other night relationship kip relationship coach, it's really about unconditional self-love for oneself. First is learning to love
Mm.
oneself, being well with who we are, like you said, being well first, and then do well, because when you are actually loving on yourself unconditionally, then you know how to love your partner as well,
Mhm.
and knowing how to look out what to look out in terms of a compatible partner for a long lasting relationship. But like you said, relationship, first thing people think of is love and romantic, but relationship can come in so many different form, like you mentioned, it could be
Mhm.
with friendship, it could be with your children, it could be a daughter and father, so many things. And coaches that I have beautiful relationship with them. So it comes in so many form. But I definitely have you in. So I am holding on. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be taking Keosha as my repertoire of qualities for my other collaborator.
Gosh. Oh, really?
So
I
you
mean,
are serving me as a great example of what to base the rest of my other.
oh my gosh, let me tell you, coming from you, that means everything because it was our connection was so instant on that podcast.
Yes.
And to say it was audio, we hadn't had a chance to like see each other, anything. I was listening to you. Same thing you say about me. That's how I felt about you. I'm like, I got to have a conversation with her outside of this podcast.
I
We
was
are
so
speaking the
excited when you
same
wrote to me. I was
language.
like, oh my God, I can't believe Keosha wrote to me. So I was
I'm
like,
like, we're
I gotta
speaking the
get this
same
girl on.
language. Oh my God. Listen, I was not gonna give up until I finally like got my life together to get on this podcast. Cause it was just sometimes you talk to people and you meet people and it's just magnetic
Mhm.
and the chemistry is there because chemistry happens outside of romance too.
Yeah.
And you're just vibing. And I
Mhm.
felt like even on this podcast, that podcast, we just vibed and it was just
Mhm.
instant. And I was like, we have more to talk about. So I'm glad. Like, thank you for inviting me on your podcast. I feel so honored to be having this conversation with you. And I can't wait for us to have more conversations about more things.
Oh, I can't wait either. Keosha, you are the embodiment of really like for a female, you give that space. You give me the space to be
Mm.
me, to just go, you're okay, Ree. Like as you are, sometimes I go into the doubting mode, as a recovering pleaser as well. You go, ooh, is it okay to be me? And then I'm like, well, Keosha serve as a good. Yes, it is okay to be you, Ree. Yes, it's okay to be that
I'm
silly
like,
girl that you
girl, you
are.
better be you. Because everybody, I say that with books too. People go, I don't know if I should write this book. There is someone who's going to read your book. There's a book for everybody. It's the same thing with who you are. If
Mhm.
these people don't appreciate you, that's okay. These people will. Like you're going to find your people and where you fit, but also you're going to have even exchanges. You're going to make them feel good. They're going to make you feel good. So no pressure. No pressure.
That's it.
If it feels too much like pressure and you're forcing it, you're like, wait a minute, stop. It's okay to start over. It's okay to pause. It's okay to move slowly, but no pressure. We have to take
Mhm.
pressure off of ourselves. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves and we don't give ourselves enough grace,
Yeah. If
you
you
know.
don't remember anything else out of this podcast, remove the pressure.
Yes.
Seriously, give yourself grace and remove that pressure. If there's one thing that you can do that, and it will really be life changing. Seriously, I want to be able to. Where can people find you? How can they reach to you? What's the website? How can they find you, Kiosha?
So Reset with K is the blog. You can find me there. I'm also on Facebook, Reset with K. Chestnut Publishing House is on Facebook too. And then on Instagram, if
Mhm.
you want to get to really know me, Facebook, yes, you can, but that's more like business. Instagram, I use my Instagram page kind of like a blog. It's KLAF as in Frank Anders. So K Laugh Anders, basically. That's me on Instagram. And follow me. Let's connect. And Yeah, I look
Definitely
forward
connect
to
with
it.
this beautiful lady with all of the energy and the
Oh,
power and the true authentic person that she is. You're going to learn so much, and she just touches you like at a deep core. So I am so grateful to be connected with you, and so grateful for
mm,
this beautiful connection that we will continue to nurture and support one another,
yes,
because I can't wait to celebrate you and when your book comes out and everything that you touch, because I'm all for celebrating other female, because that's what it is. Like, even if I don't
same.
succeed, I get to cheer on other people, which I will. I words is
Yes, you will.
important. I will. I know
Yes.
that I'd be a millionaire one of these days, so I am not even
Yes.
worried about that.
We're gonna be
But
sipping champagne on a yacht.
I yes, and you'll be invited, Keosha.
Thank
So
you.
we'll be toasting it together. So Keosha, I want you to leave with a last inspirational word. If you have a quote or something that you go by that can really be of inspiration for other people who may be listening or maybe struggling with something, what is that one quote for you?
I think the first word that comes to mind is breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally breathe. And when I say that, people go, "Well, we breathe all day." Yeah, but you don't intentionally take a breath.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like stop for a minute if you're feeling overwhelmed. Even if you're not feeling overwhelmed, if you are in a place or a season of gratitude and just joy and things are really working out, you can still take a breath, but
Yeah.
carve out moments to just intentionally breathe because it adds more gratitude. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're not in a place where you can find too many things to be grateful for because it's just chaotic and tornadic all the way around you, if you really stop to take an intentional breath, like seriously just stop to think and go, okay, this is happening, but it could be this.
Mm-hmm.
That gratitude will, the more you take a breath, the more you'll find more things to be grateful for. I think that's really what I want to leave you with. Breathe and find more gratitude.
Oh, that's lovely. A beautiful way to end that. Thank you so much,
Thank
Keosha.
you. Thank you. Thank you
Oh,
so
I'm so
much.
grateful. Thank you. Thank you, universe. And audience,
Yes.
I hope you enjoy this episode. Definitely check out Keosha and really reach out to her, because she is that good. I love it. Thank you so much. Have
Thank
a
you,
great day,
Reedy.
everybody. Bye.